Gaurang Shah of Geojit Financial Services. Sir, thank you for joining us here on News9. A lot of the big macro events, your monetary policy meet both in India and US, the budget, December quarter earnings, they are now behind us. What do you think, what will be the focus of the street in the next couple of weeks, sir?
Thank you, Suyash, and morning to all of you all, and thank you for having me on the show. So, I think large triggers as far as domestic events are concerned are possibly now a past event. Our sense is that news flows from the global arena is something what will possibly drive the markets. Not that we are solely dependent on those, but I think the way we had a knee-jerk reaction last week on fallback of the higher than expected data in the US, we went below 21,600. I think it was last week on Wednesday, if I'm not mistaken.
Right.
And I think we also discussed about it in terms of range-bound market, 21,600 to 22,100. And since we opened up at the high end of the band this morning, we are seeing a little bit of consolidation of profit booking. So I think we may possibly spend some time consolidating. I don't see any large move coming. There are certain pockets in the market which may possibly, because of being a little bit expensive or valuation being high, you might see some a certain amount of profit booking over there. But there again, I think we'll possibly have to wait for a while for certain upgrades also to come through post the third quarter earnings. I think since we are trading at the high end of the range, there should be a little bit of consolidation and profit booking. And in terms of news flow or events, I think more of global play rather than a local play now.
And, with regards to the global cues, I wanted to pick your brains on this inflation data that came in hotter than expected. Of course, last week we had the CPI numbers from US. Now we have the wholesale price numbers. Again, they are the expectation, the print is, higher than expected. How do you think that fits into the rate cut narrative, and what does it mean for us, sir?
Suresh, I think the Fed chair has never said that they are going to cut the rates in a particular time frame. I think it are the market participants who had more of an expectation. My sense is that unless then Fed or any central bank in the world will not react on each and every monthly or quarterly inflation or WPI or CPI data and then decide. They have to see a consistent period of couple of months of performance as far as the inflation data is concerned, and then of course depending upon the wisdom they react to it, and then they do act accordingly, whether it is a rate cut or a pause or a rate hike. So I don't think 1 month or 1 quarter data will give you that kind of comfort that you go ahead and move on the interest rates. So we'll have to wait for a while, Suyash, and I think it was absolutely not a wise thing to expect rate cuts to come through in the first 3 months of calendar year 2024, that is Jan, Feb, March, as far as US central bank is concerned. I think they'll take a while still.
Right.
Good morning, Gaurang. Now, the Defence Acquisition Council has cleared as much as 84,560 crores towards acquisition proposals to boost capability of the armed forces and the Indian Coast Guard. And this includes new generation anti-tank missiles, air defense tactical control radar systems, multi-mission maritime aircrafts, amongst others. Now, I was looking at some stocks specific that should be affected. HAL last 5 days has been up 9.77%. Bharat Dynamics, which is into the manufacture of guided missiles and allied equipment for the Indian Armed Forces, has been up 10.42%. Paras Defence and Space Tech, which is into the development of space applications for defence and solutions for defence purposes, is up 5.19%. Idea Forge, which is into UAVs, unmanned aerial vehicles for defence purposes, is up 6.92%. And Taneja Aerospace is up as much as almost 17%. This provides repairs and maintenance to defence helicopters and aircrafts. What do you, Bharat Forge and of course Midhani is still down. Do you see a good uptick in the times to come towards defense stocks?
So I have, thank you and morning to you also. So I have, we have always mentioned that defense, and let me give you two more sectors over here for the benefit of your viewers and investors. Defense, railways, and power. Power includes power generation, power transmission and distribution, and power equipments. Our sense at Geojit is that these three sectors are possibly in a multi-year growth story on fallback of whatever initiatives the government has taken. Now, whether it is to do with defense, because defense is, mind you, it's a prolonged kind of investment, and it takes time for order books to get executed because of the technicality and the complexity of it being a very high-end, precise product. So that takes a while. But as and when they get a prototype done, they get a mass approval of mass production, the cash registers will start ringing in. One more name that I would want to mention amongst these names that you mentioned, I'll keep my commentary limited to HAL Bharat Dynamics, because that's where we had a coverage also in terms of IPO subscription. Other two names that I feel should also be a part of this list is BEL and BHEL. They are also, of course, government-owned companies, and they've done pretty well in the last couple of months in terms of order book execution and their share price move. Along with this, power sector, whether it is power generation, power transmission, or power distribution, or power equipment manufacturing companies, and so is railways, because these are not just 6 months, 1 year kind of companies that they'll get order from. And for defense, domestic is a big market, and equal big market is the global market in terms of supplies. So these stocks are going to be in the spotlight for all the good reasons for a pretty long period of time.
Gaurang, specific to HAL and even BHEL, there has been talk that over the last 1 year, these stocks have rallied a little too much, and there will be time for correction. Do you still say that these stocks is still good to buy at this time, or you will see some moderation or some plateauing?
Well, I have never been a great guru in terms of timing the market or finding levels, to be very honest. I believe that if you are looking at investing in a company, don't waste your time looking at those levels, because you will end up not buying or investing the money. So, whether this is the right level or right time, rather going into that debate, I would possibly take the plunge, at least go and invest maybe 25-30% at current levels. And like I mentioned when I was speaking with Suyash, that there are certain pockets which are looking expensive. Defense may be one of them. I'm not saying that they are cheap. And last year also, you remember, I think it was in the second half, early second half, a lot of mutual funds unloaded defense stocks because they thought that they have run up, and now the valuation looks to be limited on the upside. And from that time till this time, all these stocks have rallied at least 15 to 20%, whether it is HAL, whether it is BDL, whether it is Mazgaon, whether it is Cochin Shipyard, or whether it is any other stock. So corrections do come in terms of profit booking, in terms of valuation. So instead of waiting for that right time and right price, put some now. You get a correction, you add to it.
All right, and Gaurang, before we let you go, there are reports that SEBI is asking IPO-bound companies to remove selling shareholders, including your private equity and venture capital firms, from the decision-making process of the pricing of the IPO. And there are also reports, multiple reports, that SEBI is looking to introduce measures to tackle the high valuations in IPO for some time now. In your mind, what can the regulator do to ensure that the derived valuation are in the best interest of both the sellers and the buying shareholders?
So the promoter would want to take to the highest level, and an investor like you and me would want to pull it down to the lowest level. It's very difficult to strike a fine balance at a particular point wherein there is equilibrium. But I think the regulator, SEBI, has been acting on and off as and when the need arises in terms of, valuation, in terms of interest of investors getting protected. And at the same time, no undue advantage goes to the private players or the promoters. So, I guess that they should bring in transparency. How, when, in what form, I think we'll have to just wait and watch, because I possibly cannot look into what SEBI is planning to do. But I'm sure whatever SEBI does will be in the interest of all the participants.
All right, that's Mr. Gaurang Shah for you, sir. Always a pleasure speaking to you. Thank you for joining us here on News 9.